Unlike the classic American diner, which offered a more leisurely experience and a wider menu, fast food restaurants offered a narrower choice of menu options but focused on speed, efficiency and affordability. White Castle is widely considered to be the first fast food chain, founded in Wichita, Kansas in 1921. Founder Walter Anderson had been running food stands in Wichita since 1916. After opening his first diner in a converted streetcar, he had already opened 3 locations and was looking to open a 4th when he met businessman Billy Ingram. Ingram's vision was to change the public's perception of hamburgers, which were often seen as low quality and unhygienic, by creating a chain with a clean, standardized look and reputation. The brand served 100% beef in an open kitchen design, allowing customers to see their food being prepared. The buildings were painted white and given the name White Castle to convey a sense of purity and cleanliness to customers. They advertised their hamburgers at just 5 cents, developing the slogan, "Buy 'em by the sack," as the burger's popularity grew. The square beef patties were uniformly cut and cooked quickly, by steaming them together on a bed of onions with buns on top to lock in the heat. The brand pioneered fast food service, creating the first modern fast food system with assembly line production, standardized recipes, and distinctive branding. From 1924 to 1929, the brand opened larger buildings with white enamel glazed brick exteriors and modest bar stool seating inside, similar to the diners of the time. The success of White Castle helped improve the reputation of hamburgers and also paved the way for many other fast food chains to take off, adopting many of the same ideas of speed and efficiency. The rapid rise in car adoption and the building of infrastructure such as major roads and highways in the first half of the 20th century is perhaps the most important factor which shaped the fast food industry in America. The car-centric layout of many towns and cities in America, with the implementation of grid layouts designed for efficiency, meant that many people were forced to drive, as many locations in town and city centers were practically unwalkable. Fast food catered to drivers in a hurry, who could eat their food quickly and go or take it with them. In the 1920s, as the number of drivers in America grew significantly and as major roads such as US Route 40, the Main Street of America, were being constructed, many entrepreneurs realized the necessity for motels and diners for tired and hungry motorists. Memorable motifs and striking signs were designed to catch the eye of passing travelers, a technique later adopted by fast food outlets such as McDonald's with their famous golden arches. In Texas, the concept of the drive-in motor lunch was born with the opening of the Pig Stand. Kirby's Pig Stand, which opened in Dallas in 1921, allowed patrons to receive orders whilst seated in their parked cars. Waiters would rush out to cars to take customers' orders. They would often jump up onto the car's running board, sometimes even before the car had fully stopped, to take orders. This daring and agile service earned the waiters the name car hops. The experience of the Pig Stand was a great attraction and huge success. In just a couple of years, around 50,000 sandwiches were sold each week from 10 Dallas locations. Its popularity began the trend of drive-ins which sprung up across the country. The Pig Stand was also one of the early adopters of neon lighting in the American restaurant industry. Using bright neon lights was the perfect way to attract motorists and stand out along the highway at night. In the late 1940s, as car adoption continued to grow rapidly, the next step in the evolution of fast food was born, the drive-thru. Compared to the drive-in, the drive-thru was even more convenient for drivers who could drive in, order, receive their food and be in and out and back on the road in just a matter of minutes. One of the first adopters of the drive-thru was the In-N-Out burger. In-N-Out are widely credited with inventing the first modern drive-thru system that all fast food chains use today. Founded in Baldwin Park, California, in 1948, they pioneered the use of a two-way speaker system which allowed drivers to place their order and receive their food without staff ever having to leave the stand. The 1950s is often seen as the golden age of fast food. Many modern-day giants began life in the 50s. The decade was the perfect storm for fast food to take off in America. The post-war economic boom, combined with the rising car culture and development of the interstate highway system, allowed fast food to flourish, increasing its popularity as well as its reach. It transformed the fast food industry from specialized roadside drive-ins into standardized franchises designed for speed and efficiency. It is probably the key defining decade of fast food. It is also the decade in which the ultimate fast food giant, McDonald's, would take off. Today McDonald's is undoubtedly the most famous and globally recognized fast food chain, with over 40,000 restaurants in over 100 countries worldwide. But before McDonald's became an international giant, the original McDonald's was the product of just two working-class brothers, Richard and Morris McDonald. Starting out in 1940, they opened a drive-in called McDonald's Barbecue in San Bernardino, California. It was a typical drive-in featuring a large menu and car hop service. The original menu was almost unrecognizable from a modern McDonald's menu. Customers could order items such as tamales, aristocratic hamburgers, or most bizarrely, peanut butter and jelly with French fries, alongside a side of chili and washed down with a giant malt. However, in 1948, they closed the restaurant and reinvented it, turning it into a burger bar with a menu of only 9 items. They had a dream to make $1 million before they reached the age of 50. In 1954, the dream would become a reality when Chicago-born multi-mixer salesman Ray Kroc visited McDonald's intending to sell the brothers his equipment for their milkshakes. However, he learns from the brothers that they are looking for a nationwide franchising agent. Impressed with their pioneering assembly line, speedy service system, and the price of their hamburgers at just 15 cents, he offers to be their franchising agent, seeing the potential in their hamburgers and starting McDonald's System Inc. The first of the new McDonald's restaurants opened a year later in Des Plaines, Illinois. McDonald's successful franchising paved the way for many other fast food outlets to follow suit and expand their businesses nationwide. But in the 1960s, McDonald's faced stiff competition from rival chains and they needed to stand out in a crowded market. They expanded their menu, offering new items like the Filet-O-Fish in 1962 and the Big Mac in 1967, which would become their signature item. They also introduced their new company mascot, Ronald McDonald, who first appeared in a TV ad in 1963, replacing the old Mr. Speedy. Their aim was to directly appeal to children who became an increasingly important target market for fast food companies in the 60s. However, McDonald's Speedy Burger Bar, designed in the 50s, offered limited indoor seating space compared with rival chains like Burger King and Wendy's, which were more suited to families and children. By the late 60s, the now CEO and President Ray Kroc and the McDonald's hierarchy realized they needed to change their model from a speedy burger bar to a more family-friendly sit-down restaurant if they were to secure the increasing suburban family market. It became a standard expectation to have a place to sit and a more comfortable, welcoming environment where mothers could easily supervise their children. In 1969, McDonald's introduced the new mansard roof design in Matteson, Illinois. The buildings were larger and offered more seating space for families and children. The design became the standard, with many more opening throughout the 1970s. The 70s was a transformative decade for McDonald's. Not only did they expand outside of North America to become a global corporation, but they also introduced many new features which would further increase their popularity in America and beyond. For example, they finally introduced their first drive-thru in 1975, which would prove to be transformative for their business. The adoption of drive-thrus at McDonald's was surprisingly slow considering their importance to the fast food outlet. Drive-thrus accounted for roughly 70% of their U.S. business in 2022. They also introduced their first outdoor play area called McDonaldland Parks in 1972. In the late 70s, as TV advertising and especially children's TV advertising exploded, they attempted to completely transform their image from a quick-stop burger bar to the place to be for families with kids, offering an experience where customers felt welcome to stay longer. They introduced more vibrant colors and designs at their restaurants to attract children, often incorporating cartoon characters, and introduced dedicated party rooms. And in the final year of the decade, they introduced the Happy Meal for the first time, which became hugely popular and one of their most famous items. KFC began its own international expansion in the mid-1960s, and by the end of the 1970s, the chain already reached 3,000 locations in 48 countries with outlets in every inhabited continent. Since the 1950s, the diversity of fast food in America has also grown massively, incorporating a variety of cuisines, from Pizza Hut to Taco Bell and Panda Express. Many of these chains have managed to scale and become global franchises and transnational corporations, employing hundreds of thousands or even millions of people worldwide. In the 1980s, McDonald's continued its global expansion, reaching new territories and political and economic spheres. It introduced restaurants in Southeast Asia and South America, and in 1988 even entered the communist world of Eastern Europe, setting up in what was then Yugoslavia and in Hungary. By 1992, McDonald's had operations in every inhabited continent of the world after opening their first restaurant in Morocco, becoming the first in Africa and the Arab world. But as fast food continued to spread far and wide, so did health concerns and criticism. From the 1980s, rates of diet-related disease soared. Diseases such as obesity, diabetes, fatty liver disease and heart disease reached unprecedented levels, numbers which have continued to rise alarmingly in the decades since. This concern did not seem to faze McDonald's, however, who even ran ads in the 80s claiming that their meals could be part of a balanced diet and that they had nutritional value. From the 1990s to early 2000s, fast food became inextricably linked to soaring obesity. The reasons were seemingly clear. Characteristics like the high fat, sugar and sodium content of fast food and the combination of obscene calorie content and limited exercise were what was driving the epidemic. But the real reasons were not quite so simple. More importantly than any individual nutritional measures, fast food had become increasingly ultra-processed over the decades as fresh ingredients were swapped for frozen ones stored with preservatives, while other ingredients became increasingly synthetic, produced with additives carefully designed and selected to improve various things like preservation, flavor and texture as much as possible. These additives included preservatives and antioxidants, emulsifiers and sweeteners. The increased adoption of seed oils was also important. McDonald's switched from beef tallow to so-called vegetable oils, like rapeseed and palm for their French fries, officially in 1990. The change was partly economic but also driven by growing concern over saturated fat. But the use of seed oils was just another move towards increasingly artificial food, and only made them much more unhealthy. Seed oils raise inflammation in the body and when consumed regularly are known to significantly increase risk to many diseases. While seemingly small, these changes made a huge difference. Fast food products as a whole, including their composition, energy density, additives, flavor, smell and texture, and their distinctive and pervasive branding and advertising created the perfect driver for overconsumption and addiction. Yet chains like McDonald's continued to sell bigger portion sizes, knowing they could hook loyal customers even more. Fast food can be described as a supernormal stimulus because the way it stimulates receptors in the brain is highly unnatural. Products are always highly palatable and extremely energy dense, whilst the texture is usually soft and easily chewed. This specific combination is rarely found in nature, and the use of additives creates a highly artificial product. All of these factors work to confuse the brain. The food is highly palatable because the texture and combination of flavors have been selected and enhanced through product testing down to a fine art. This may seem fine until you realize how this is achieved. You wouldn't find these ingredients anywhere around your kitchen, and they often have strange or scientific names like xanthan gum or mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. These are what are known as emulsifiers and are used to mix and glue ingredients together in the production process which do not naturally mix. Whereas other ingredients such as artificial sweeteners like maltodextrin and high fructose corn syrup are added that are many times sweeter than natural sugars. Combined with their extreme energy density, this works to send the brain's receptors into overdrive, processing the food as highly rewarding, yet in reality the nutritional value extracted is extremely low. But the softness and ease of chewing only make it harder for the brain to determine when it is full. The body does not become satiated and continues to send signals to keep eating. All of this creates a highly addictive product. The additives contained, whilst damaging in their own right, combine to create a toxic mix. Not forgetting the numerous carcinogens produced from the cooking process and from food packaging. The idea that exercise alone could burn calories and that it could offset any damage done by fast food was completely false, yet was a convenient narrative for chains to buy into. Through sport, fast food companies have attempted to sports wash and health wash consumers to improve their image. They have and continue to sponsor major sporting events, teams and campaigns including children's and community sports campaigns, presenting the image that they care about consumer health and physical exercise. But as author Dr. Chris Van Tulleken explains in his book, Ultra-Processed People, the idea of calories is completely misunderstood. The narrative that you can simply burn calories or fat from exercise is completely false. Fat is reduced from overall healthy bodily functions including digestion and metabolism. If you are regularly consuming fast food, it will take its toll on your overall health, making it extremely unlikely that you will lose weight from exercising alone. However, this narrative was not a profitable one for fast food companies. Their solution was to promote exercise as the magic counterbalance to absolve themselves of blame and instead shift it to greedy and lazy consumers. Nevertheless, concern continued to mount in the 90s and into the early 2000s. Undoubtedly, the most famous documentary highlighting the health concerns of fast food, specifically McDonald's, is the 2004 documentary by American filmmaker Morgan Spurlock called Supersize Me, referring to the famous supersize option which used to be offered at McDonald's. In it, he sees if he can subsist entirely on food from McDonald's for 30 days while highlighting the health, social and environmental impacts of McDonald's in the United States and the world. The results after the experiment were shocking. After just 30 days, his solitary diet of fast food had not only caused 13% body mass increase but also caused massive damage to his overall health. The challenge was much harder than Morgan had expected, and doctors were shocked at the results. At the end of the experiment, Morgan developed fatty liver disease and his blood pressure and cholesterol soared. However, the documentary has been criticized because of its lack of transparency and lack of scientific rigor. Morgan did not keep a record of his complete food intake and is believed to have consumed an average of 5,000 calories a day, far exceeding what was necessary, and years later he admitted to being a heavy drinker for years, including during the filming of Super Size Me. Critics and researchers have since failed to replicate such extreme health issues over such a short period. Nevertheless, the film was hugely influential and raised awareness of just how unhealthy fast food had become, and while extreme, the experiment demonstrated the dangerous reality for people who struggle with addiction to fast food and who consume it regularly. Shortly after the documentary was released, the super size option was ended by McDonald's after public backlash, despite claiming to have ended on their own accord. In 2006, McDonald's launched their first major global rebrand in decades, which they called Forever Young. The aim was to move away from the old plastic-heavy designs with bright and garish colors, to a more modern and sophisticated aesthetic with muted earth tones and high-quality materials. Shifting to a more cafe-like atmosphere with comfortable seating and varied seating zones where customers would feel like staying longer. In doing so, they also moved away from less of a family focus and a more relaxed but efficient service. While the rebrand is generally considered a commercial and strategic success, the muted tones and standardized arrangements made many people feel as if McDonald's had lost much of its soul and original 50s charm. Today the contrast is even starker as buildings and designs have become even more muted and minimalist. In the 21st century, traditional fast food has often struggled to stand out in a saturated market. It has faced steep competition, particularly in the 2010s, from fast casual restaurants like Chipotle in the US and Nando's in the UK, offering higher quality food in a more comfortable, relaxed environment, as well as from premium burger joints like Shake Shack and Five Guys. Although fast food has also benefited from integration of modern technologies, helping to increase sales. McDonald's have partnered with delivery apps like Just Eat and Uber Eats and promoted self-service kiosks. McDonald's first rolled out their self-service kiosks on a large scale in 2015 as part of the Experience of the Future project. Since their adoption, self-service kiosks have improved efficiency, reduced wait times and increased order-taking capacity, as well as increasing average order value. Kiosks are programmed to always prompt customers with add-ons, upgrades, and meal deals. Self-service kiosks appeal to customer psychology. When ordering from a machine, customers generally feel less rushed, and the anonymity also makes it easier to add more items or customizations they might otherwise have skipped or not chosen face-to-face. Appealing visuals on the digital menus allow the display of high-quality photos and videos of the food designed to entice customers, making premium items and add-ons more attractive and encouraging impulse purchases. Crucially, fast food has benefited from the kiosk's ability to provide data-driven sales. Kiosks can effectively track the behavior, preferences, and ordering patterns of regular customers. This data allows the restaurant to run more effective promotions and adjust the menu display to highlight the most profitable or popular items. With kiosks, restaurants can instantly change menu items, prices, and special offers based on the time of day, inventory levels, or local demand. Increasingly, data tracking is becoming more personalized. For example, loyalty programs are pushed so they can create specific customer profiles. The system can then push personalized recommendations to achieve targeted personal upselling. In the 2020s, despite slow recovery from the COVID pandemic, fast food has been experiencing a new and existential challenge, testing customer loyalty and pushing more customers away than ever before. Out of control inflation. Customers have noticed the huge price rises for items often bordering on the ridiculous. Many once loyal customers have realized they can eat elsewhere or make better quality food for similar or even cheaper prices. This will likely be the biggest challenge for fast food in the future. The average fast food menu item rose a staggering 40% from 2019 to 2024 because of labor and food costs. In response, fast food chains have worked hard to restore the perception that fast food is affordable again. They have dramatically increased promotional offers and coupons. Promotions in the UK fast food market rose about 23% in 2025 as chains competed for customers. For example, McDonald's recently launched $5 meal deals and value bundles, part of its new McValue menu. Chains are also attempting to drive excitement through new limited-time releases with branded collaborations and themed meals. At the same time, chains continue to expand digital loyalty systems to track customer data and encourage repeat visits. McDonald's aims to grow its loyalty program to 250 million active users globally. From hearty origins and humble pioneers, fast food has morphed into ultra-processed Frankenstein creations, laced with concoctions of cancer-causing chemicals. But regardless of its detriment to health, fast food's reputation as a cheap convenience is under serious threat, and only time will tell if it can survive. Thanks for watching.